Even though it's 2016, girls' education around the world is still a pressing problem. But some people are taking matters into their own hands. They're using social entrepreneurship, opening up access to technology, and providing connections with female role models. This week on Full Frame, conversations with people who are committed to providing an education for girls and women, no matter what their circumstance. I'm Mei Lee in Los Angeles. Let's take it full frame. Born in Tehran, Shohreh Oghdashlu began her career acting in Iranian films in the 1970s. After leaving Iran, Shohreh moved to the UK, where she began a promising career as a journalist. Eventually, she emigrated to the United States, moving to Los Angeles and returning to her first love, acting. And she made a very good choice. She has been nominated for an Academy Award and has won an Emmy as well as several other awards. She starred in more than 25 films and currently plays the lead role in an American TV series on Sci-Fi Network called The Expanse.
That's another thing. I want every Martian weapons facility under a microscope.
They are. And your belter will like gravity on Luna better.
That's the only thing you like. I'm afraid for him.
Heaven help your enemies, Christian.
Heaven help us all if Mars and the belt decide to share a toothbrush. Bold move. I'll give him that.
What?
The Cold War is over. This is something new.
Recently, Shohreh starred alongside Morgan Freeman and Clive Owen in the film Last Nights, and she has a starring role in the upcoming feature film The Promise, which debuts this year. Now, off-screen, Shohreh supports Mother Miracle, a nonprofit organization in India that works to improve the quality of life for children and families by providing a chance at quality education. Here to share her story about her amazing career and to tell us more about Mother Miracle is Shohreh Oghdashlu. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you so much for having me.
And I mean, let's be straight here. You have had an amazing acting career so far. You've won an Emmy Award, nominated for an Academy Award, multiple other awards. You can stop here and be really good. But is it still fresh to you and new to you and exciting to you?
It is always fresh, new, and exciting. I'm learning like a good teacher.
Yeah.
I used to tell my mother that which one of my teachers was the best. And my mother would ask me, why do you think she's the best? And I said, because she keeps studying when she goes home. It's not like that she knows everything now and she's trying to teach it to us. Every time she goes home, she studies herself to make sure what she is teaching us is...
And you appreciated that even then?
Absolutely.
The idea of continuing
Absolutely.
Education.
Especially in this business, in my business, it's like an ocean. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you know about this business.
Wow. Well, for you, though, because you grew up in Iran with traditional parents,
yes,
probably wanted you to do something much more traditional, conventional, right? Like most parents want their kids
modern
to do.
Thinking, yes.
Something
my mother
safe.
would have loved for me to wear a... She said it, why on earth don't you become a secretary? Wear a nice Saint Laurent or Cartier scarf and a nice Cartier, drive to your work every morning and come home early. Why do you have to do this and work until 4 a.m.? And I'm like, Mom, I love my profession.
Right, so when did you know that you had this acting bug?
16.
Okay, so
I
young.
was already acting.
Right.
For the members of the family.
Oh, okay.
I started when I was 7. I would mock my family beautifully. The way that my uncle asked my mother, called my mother and said, ask Shohreh to stop it. I don't like it, but Shohreh.
Oh, really?
My mother told me and said, why do you think is that? I said, because I do a good job.
Yes.
But I didn't know it was acting.
Huh.
We were at the Caspian Sea with my cousins.
Okay.
They used to live there. It's in my book, in my memoir. Beautiful, beautiful part of my life. And one afternoon we decided to go and watch and see Gone with the Wind, which had recently came to the theaters in the Caspian Sea.
You must
After
have been
the
blown
movie,
away.
I came out, I told my mother, I am becoming an actress no matter what. And she said, she looked at me and she said, not under our roof.
Oh, no.
And she was right.
Really?
They didn't allow me.
Yeah, so you had to kind of, not really sneak around, but you did things
I
that...
really liked the man whom I married. He was an artist, he was a painter. He had studied in Switzerland and France, very modern thinking. And I knew he was going to let me do it.
Yeah.
And I asked him. I didn't fool him. I didn't marry him first and then ask him.
And he was really supportive, wasn't he?
He was. As soon as I said, do you mind if I become an actress after we get married? And he goes, I don't see why not. When would you like to marry me?
I have to stop for a second right here because, and just talk about your voice. You have the most amazing, exotic, like unique voice. I thought I had a deep voice, but yours, it just puts mine to shame. Has that been an advantage to you, or?
Yes, especially in theater.
Yeah.
My mother has the same voice, but she's not happy with it.
Oh.
She was never happy with it. Because when people call home, they were like, hello, Mr. Vaziri, and she would say, this is Mrs.
Oh, no.
She had to. But I don't like to correct people. I love it when they take me for a sir.
Because when I was growing up, I had a low voice as a kid, and my mom hated it because it wasn't feminine enough, and she would always trying to change my voice, saying, may speak like this, a little more like this. I'm like, no.
Use your head voice. I know. I've heard that.
Oh, my God.
Okay, here, no, don't laugh too hard because, you know, when you have a thick voice, my mother, when we were going to the parties, oh, you don't look representable, you don't look right. What is this hair? And by the way, please don't laugh loud. Just, you know, you have a thick voice. And I'm like, yes, I do know.
It sounds like you didn't really listen to your mom so much. Then you kind of just did your own thing.
I did my own thing. Which is the generation.
But that's why it's a good decision that you did, because you've been so successful. And what I love about the roles that you've taken over the years is that you've been very bold and courageous in the roles that you've taken, and they're very diverse.
And very choosy.
Sometimes controversial, though, right? Sometimes you choose some controversial.
Purposely.
Yeah.
Even controversial.
Yeah, one of them being 24,
yes.
right? Great series.
Yes.
Huge hit that series was. But you played a Middle Eastern terrorist, and some people criticize you for doing that.
They did.
But you totally disagree with their take, right? You have a different...
Because my point was the fact that I'm an actor, and I give an arm and a leg for a complex character like her.
Right.
She was a mother, a lover, a woman, a believer, a follower. I mean, layer after layer after layer, and the way the brilliant writers of the 24 wrote these pieces, she started revealing throughout the season. It wasn't like at the very beginning or she makes the arc in the middle. It was very smooth. They have amazing writers.
Yeah.
And very smoothly, she revealed herself throughout. And this is an amazing role, which every actor, again, would give an arm and a leg for.
Sure.
That was my answer to them. That, and also the fact that there weren't any Iranian names on the terrorist list.
Right.
And I said, do you see any Iranian names? And I don't understand why every time I'm good for a role, to portray this role, I look better than my fellow American or, you know, fellow actor who's blonde. Why all of a sudden it is considered as a stereotype? Because I truly believe that if I'm good in doing this, I should do it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Why
It's
not?
not a stereotype. If I'm good in doing this.
But I guess in a respectable way, to a certain extent. Yeah, well, I think
it's about acting.
But boy, it must be so challenging, though, because of the politics and the issues and the cultural issues and social issues, to be able to try and marry all of that into a role and do it well, and have people believe you, right? That's acting. That's a good actor.
The acting and also, you know, the politics around it.
Right, right.
You have to be careful.
Well, this, again, also about you is that you're very vocal about various issues, world issues, current events, politics. And I love it when I see high-profile people, celebrities, VIPs, who use their platform, their fame, to be able to talk about issues that are important. and, educate the public that way. That's really important to you, isn't it?
Absolutely. The platform which you beautifully referred to is the essence of my work.
Okay.
I started it in the UK, London, Hyde Park. Right after I migrated to London, drove myself to London, from Tehran to London, having had to go through Istanbul, Yugoslavia, Italy, south of France.
How long did that take you?
Got 12 days.
Wow, okay.
Got myself to London and started studying. Went to Hyde Park Corner, Speaker Corner, saw people standing on boxes, fruit boxes, giving speeches, talking politics. And I said, everybody can do that. And my friend said, yes, of course, whoever would like to talk, all they need to do to bring a box with them. As of then, I took a box with me for a couple of weeks, stood on the box, and started, it's in the book, started talking about Iran and what was going on in Iran and all the injustices and the fact that thousands of people are now being displaced and stuff.
Yeah.
So it started with that platform.
And you continued that.
And it continued, and every time it got bigger, they gave me an inch, I took a yard.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, because I was in a hurry,
Right.
and I really meant it. It wasn't like I was trying to make myself famous, or I wasn't trying to become rich. In fact, every time I give classes, free classes to underprivileged children only, first thing I say, when I walk into the class, I say, if you're here for fame and fortune, you're in the wrong class. I didn't start it that way.
Right. Yeah.
You want to be useful to your people.
Yes, exactly. But
That's why I need that platform.
With purpose, right? With genuine purpose.
Genuine.
Speaking of another platform, and it's a current issue right now in Hollywood, the whole controversy over lack of diversity, right? We're hearing a lot about that in films and television, more in films than in TV. I think TV's doing a little bit better job. But when it comes to minorities, when it comes to women, and you're dealing with both, you represent both. What are your thoughts on what the current situation is like in Hollywood?
Hollywood, or the American film industry in general, all industries are about numbers.
Yeah.
It's not about gender.
Yeah.
It's not about you and me. It's not about the color of my skin. It's about how much you and I make. How many followers do we have? When we make films, how much does it sell here in the United States? 20, 25 million. When it hits the Far East, 370 million.
Right.
Let me tell you, 20 million. So I can take you to the Far East and make 300 million.
But do you really don't think that it has to do with gender and ethnicity at all?
Not anymore.
Really?
People don't have time for that. And
But
nor
don't you
the
think
luxury.
don't you think there's still a fear, a conservative mentality thinking that if we go this route with a minority or a female lead, then we're taking a risk. We're taking a risk.
No, then it may sound like there's a conspiracy theory here. There isn't.
I don't think so.
This is the American film industry, mainstream. It's not about me. It's not about the immigrants. It involves me in beautiful ways. It talks about me, people like me. But it's not about me. It's the American main film industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm in it, sometimes I'm not in it. Sometimes I do a good job, so I'm nominated. Sometimes I haven't even done anything. I remember I met with this gentleman at the Universal once. Very nice man. We were passing through the corridor. He looked at me from far away and he said, "Woman, you know how to choose your roles." I said, "Sir, believe me, I do." I picked him up with a pair of tweezers. And he goes, "Why don't you come around? We missed you once. We want to give you the Oscar." And I said, "I don't have any materials to come around. Haven't done anything."
Right.
Worthy of the Academy.
Right, but is that a problem that there's not enough of those materials, there's not enough of the roles being created?
No, it's not.
Well, not for you right now, because you are busy.
Not even when I wasn't working for 2 years.
Okay.
Industry didn't have any job for me.
Yeah. Another passion of yours is Mother Miracle. Now, tell me a little bit about what they do and why you decided to become involved.
I've sponsored kids since I first saw Oprah's our early afternoon show. It was 27 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
She was asking us to join World Vision. And she was showing us these hungry kids and, you know, with deformed faces and stuff, asking us to help them. And I started crying. I was pregnant. And I started crying watching this program. And as though it was talking to me, she looked at me, she looked into the camera and she said, "Don't cry, pick up the phone."
Oh, she did.
Pick up the phone
she's
and get one of these
right.
kids, sponsor one of these kids.
And you did.
I started then.
Really? Okay.
But then one of my best friends, Shallow, childhood friends, went to India, year 2000. She came back, she was, you know, rich. She had a beautiful house in San Rafael. We called it Shallow's Castle. Sold that one, sold a couple of properties, went back to India, started Mother Miracle.
Oh, wow.
Educate underprivileged, poor children
Right.
who live in slum areas. She now has 257.
Wow.
8 of them are mine.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So what has that experience been like for you, sponsoring children? What has that done for you? Because, you know, they always say you get, when you give, you get more back than you ever thought you would, right? That idea of giving. You get so much out of that.
It's so true. Tenfold. God will give you back tenfold. It's unbelievable. It's very rewarding. It's very heartwarming knowing that there are other people, you know, in another place of the world, in the other half, who are depending on you,
Right.
and you're helping them out to become somebody in this life. My eldest sponsored child, whose name is Mamta, is now a nurse. She turned a nurse a couple of months ago, and thank God for that, because last month her father, who was a bricklayer, fall off a scaffolding.
Oh, no.
He cannot work now, and Mamta is playing for the whole family, 6 members of the family.
So
She's a nurse and she makes...
that's got to be so rewarding for you to see that.
That's...
Yeah.
That brings me, you know, the smile that I wear every morning. People keep telling me, because I always smile, no matter what. I wake up and I'm like, "Good morning." What are you? Especially my husband is like, "What are you so happy about?" I'm like, "I'm healthy. I have a job, and sun is out. It's beautiful. No bad news so far, so I'm happy."
Well, you should be smiling for a lot of reasons because you are a busy lady when it comes to working.
Exactly.
You know, you have a lot of jobs going on. Right now, one of your roles is in The Expanse, which is the sci-fi TV series.
It's a strong female role.
I was just going to
People keep
say.
asking me.
Yes, so you play this strong political leader. This is, you know, obviously 200 years ahead in the future, right, when the solar system is colonized. So what is that like for you to play this hardcore, powerful woman?
This is the ultimate.
Is it?
I think, no, I'm thinking, can any other sort of portrayals of other characters top this? No.
Really?
She is, first off, 200 years from now, she's Under Deputy Secretary of the United Nations, but her knowledge exceeds her title.
Okay.
She knows everybody's names at the UN. Apparently, this is something, a gift that people have, that remember everybody's names, you know. She knows everybody's profiles, psychological backgrounds, pay rates. She even knows who is sleeping with whom. I mean, she's amazing. She's a master manipulator, and so powerful and amazing. And also, you know, she's a woman, and she's from far, far, far east, or Never Never Land.
Right. I can tell you love this role.
Love it.
You're so excited just talking about it.
Because I can create her from scratch.
Right. Boy, you are one lucky lady. You have had some great projects going on. So what's next for you?
Wow. Next, right now I'm reading a book on tape. You know, I do audiobooks as well.
Yeah.
Which I'm very, very proud.
Well, with that voice of yours, you should.
Thank you. I'm very proud, and I would like to announce it. I'm reading a Nobel Peace Prize winner's book, Miss Shireen Ebadi, from Iran. Obviously, it's in English. I'm also working on 2 films right now. Unfortunately, you know, the kind of films I work on, I can't talk about the subject matter.
Okay.
But I can tell you, one is a light comedy. It's my first light comedy, which I loved, and I want to do it because I want to prove to my audience, not only my audience, but also the producers who are working with me, who would like to work with me, that I can do comedy, for Christ's sake. Just don't give me tragedies and dramas. But the other one is again, a very sort of political, pretty serious, and it's devastating. But it's a story that has to be told.
Well, it sounds like you are just action-packed days ahead for you and now and just going forward, and of course the work with Mother Miracle. Thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll see you
Likewise.
again. Yeah.
Really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you. It feels like home.
I know. Well, we try to make it home for everyone. But thank you so much, and we'll see you soon, I hope.
Absolutely.
All right.
Would love to.
Well, coming up, educating and empowering girls in Afghanistan by teaching them to code. Yeah, we're talking about computer coding. That story when we come back. In 2015, Foreste Foro founded Code to Inspire, a nonprofit organization committed to educating female students in Afghanistan by teaching them how to code. Foreste says she's on a mission to empower young women in Afghanistan by improving their technical literacy. Now, to achieve this, Code to Inspire provides a safe and secure place where women can learn, increase their confidence and self-esteem, and gain marketable skills. Foreste also co-founded and served on the board of the Women's Annex Foundation, an organization established to financially empower women and children in Central Asia. Now, she hopes Code to Inspire will serve as a launching pad for Afghan women to explore and excel in both entrepreneurship and technical innovation. Joining us now from New York City is Foreste Foro. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Well, let's talk about education in Afghanistan. You know, in the past, obviously, we've all known that it's been very tough, especially for girls and women. But I know that things have improved. Tell me about how things have changed for the better.
During the Taliban, only 900,000 students were at schools with zero participation of women in education and in workforce. But 1 decade after that, right now we have around 9 million students in Afghanistan, that 42% of them, which 4.1 million of them are women and girls. And this is a huge accomplishment. We do have 4 ministers, women minister out of 25, and 28% of parliament seat actually belong to women. So we did a lot of progress. So I think we had a huge improvement in case of not only education, but also in health sector, in economy, and especially women's participation in workforce.
And that's amazing, Foreste, that you're saying that this happened in the last decade, really. But 42% participation of girls and women in education is now, that's an incredible statistic. Well, you have something to do with that, and you're obviously trying to push that forward. Let's talk about Code to Inspire. This is you're trying to bridge that education gap, but you're also trying to get more girls into coding, which again, we said this at the beginning of the interview, that is not easy for anyone. So what's the mission here on your part?
Sure. So I founded Code to Inspire in January 2015, and the reason that I founded is that as a woman who was really involved in technology, as a student, as a computer science student, and when I became a mentor in my faculty, and then when I went back after I mastered and I taught as a computer science professor for almost 3 years in computer science faculty, I saw a lot of challenges, especially for women in tech. Definitely, in case of looking at the tech market in Afghanistan, it's not a huge market for women. And if a woman wants to find a job employment, especially in technology, again, the cultural issues, the social barriers, the safety, security, all these reasons make the women not to be able to travel from one city to another city. Not a lot of family allow their daughter to travel from one place to another place because of the security. Some they can afford the financial situation to pay, for example, the tickets for their daughter to travel by plane because she can't get the road and it's unsafe. So On November 2015, with Code to Inspire, actually, we established the very first coding school for girls in Afghanistan. So we are going to build Afghanistan 2.0 by teaching girls how to code. And we have right now 50 girls in our coding school, from high school to computer science backgrounds. And we teach them different classes, which is website designing, HTML, CSS, to more advanced, which is mobile application development.
First, Shay, you mentioned a little bit of the cultural differences and the traditions that I think probably get in the way sometimes with especially things like computer science and coding. Probably traditionalists are resistant to the idea of girls and women doing this, and they actually want to push back. Have you dealt with that, and how do you continue to deal with that kind of resistance?
Sure. So the most important thing for women's job employment and education in Afghanistan is the security concerns and also the traditional issues. A majority of the families, they prefer their daughter to become a teacher. Why to become a teacher? Because it's a well-respected job in the society. You get paid and you only deal with women. But with Code to Inspire, what is really our mission to empower women with education and technology and to make them financially independent is that right now in this world, the only thing you need is a computer and internet connections. So with that sort of thing, you can do a lot of works online without even traveling. So once the family, which a lot of them actually, they have the approach of internet and looking at internet, oh, internet, it's a devil. Like, they think if you come online, it's just like you are not a good person. But once we tell them that, no, actually with a computer and an internet, your daughter can find a job online and can make money and not only support herself, but also the family, then the people and the community become more willing to support your cause and send your daughter to your center.
I know, though, that your intention also with Code to Inspire and all the other organizations you're involved with, you want to be able to advance education and to allow these girls and women to move forward, but you also want them to hang on to traditions, too, right? So it's that bridging of culture, tradition, but also modernization.
Yeah, because again, coming from Afghanistan, it's a country which is has a very male-dominated culture, and sometimes the families, even in rural places like villages, they don't like that their daughter even become educated. Forget about it if they want to learn computer and coding. So that so it was the reason that I established Code to Inspire as a place that it's a very safe, secure environment. So we provide it only for women and girls. So they come to our coding school and they have their mentors. So they feel more comfortable in this educational environment that there's only girls, and the family are going to be happy that they send their daughter to a place which is only for the girls. So we just try to have the support of local community as much as we can, because our success is actually in the hand of the support and in the hand of the support of the local community, for sure.
For Shay, I think what's really fascinating about what you also are doing is you're advocating the idea of digital currency, right, and the use of digital currency. That's a very advanced kind of idea, and that's not even being adopted really by the Western world too much at this point. Why did you decide to do this in Afghanistan already?
Sure. So majority of the people are unbanked in Afghanistan, which definitely a lot of women are unbanked. Majority of the transactions are cash-based. And because of the weak financial infrastructure that we have, and also e-commerce, we don't have this culture of using credit cards. Right. And also, on the other hand, a lot of people, they don't trust the banks. So majority of the people, they put their money in cash by themselves. And about the women, again, because if as a woman I want to go and cash out some money, and most of the time a lot of families, they want you to go with a male companion, so you can easily travel by yourself. Right. So that's a limitation for you. And all of these issues made me to think about, think about women, think about a lot of people who are displaced and they don't have documents to show the banks, and they can create a bank account. So with Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency or a digital currency, which we call it cash over internet. So the only thing you need is an email address. So create your wallet, and you instantly can send or receive money. There's actually almost zero fee that they charge you for transactions. And the most important thing that I think about the Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency is that it's an empowering money that can empower people in developing countries, especially for women. It's really important that the women be financially included in the global economy. So as thinking also as the girls who are in our coding school, imagine if you want to find a job for them online, and majority of them, they don't have a bank account, that would be a good option that they receive their remittances and salaries through Bitcoin. So it's an empowering tool for me, and I think it's also a very good way of financially include women into the economy.
What about the overall potential for these women that you're training through Code to Inspire? I mean, these are skill sets that really could take them pretty far, not just in Afghanistan, but around the world. So what's your vision there for what they could possibly do?
So definitely there are two different aspects. One aspect is the educational aspects of Code to Inspire, that we want to encourage the girls to become interested to computer science. So we try to eliminate the gender gap and increase the number of women in tech. The other aspect is entrepreneurship aspects. We try to help the girls to be an entrepreneur, to be creative, come up with their own idea and develop any products they want, and we help them to introduce it to the market. But also one of our ultimate goals, an important goal, is that to find job employment for them. Again, this is a very important issue that majority of the women in Afghanistan, they have a lot of challenges. Job opportunity. We want to create, give them these certain skills that they feel comfortable to apply to any job online, and they can work as freelance online and get paid online.
That's fantastic. Fareshte Faro, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's incredible work you're doing over there, so keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, coming up next, could the cell phone become the classroom of the future? You'll find out. Stay right there. According to the United Nations, as of 2013, 6 billion of the world's 7 billion people have access to cell phones. Now, that's more than the number of people who have access to toilets around the world. Mobile phones have not only revolutionized the way we communicate, in many classrooms around the globe, mobile technologies are increasing the power of learning. Scott Himmelstein and Steve Vosloo know firsthand how these technologies are impacting education and improving learning opportunities. Scott is the director of the University of San Diego's Center for Education Policy and Law and Mobile Technology Learning Center. Steve is an expert in mobile learning with the specialization in information and communication technologies in developing countries. Now, in 2009, he launched the M4Lit, or Mobiles for Literacy project. It demonstrates the potential of mobile publishing to support teen reading and writing in South Africa and Kenya. Steve currently serves as head of mobile at Pearson, South Africa, where he's responsible for setting the company's mobile learning strategy and delivering key projects. Scott Himmelstein is here with us in the studio, and joining us from Cape Town via satellite is Steve Vosloo. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Now, Steve, let me begin with you. The number I just shared, 6 billion people worldwide have access to cell phones. That is a staggering figure. You have been quoted as saying, I'm going to read this, mobile learning is no longer an innovation within institutional learning, but a reflection of the world in which institutional learning takes place. What do you mean by that?
Well, absolutely. You know, the way that mobile technologies have been taken up is really staggering, as you said. It's unprecedented that the world is so connected and can so easily communicate and socialize and do business and learn. And what's interesting with mobile learning is that because mobile technologies were taken up really by people outside of the four walls of the classroom, now for the first time, The education system, which is usually quite resistant to change and quite slow to change, is catching up and realizing the potential of having learners and students and teachers connected and having access to information, and is almost trying to retrofit how we teach and how we learn in this new and connected world.
That's so interesting, Scott, isn't it? The idea that we're trying to retrofit and try to piece together, and schools are a little bit behind from what the rest of the world is doing with technology.
Exactly. So we are working, our Mobile Technology Center are working with many districts here in Southern California and across the nation. And probably the most interesting thing we've found is that our students are entering the schoolhouse doors knowing how to learn through mobile technology,
right.
Whether it's through video games, their mom or dad's phone, some kind of device. They expect to learn this way. And it's our school systems that are now trying to catch up, because many of those school systems contain teachers that are still there from when you and I went to school.
Right. We didn't have computers back then.
And some of them adapt to technology very well, some a little bit, and some don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
So it's a Herculean effort to try to get these systems to catch up.
That's so interesting, to try to bridge that huge gap. You don't really think about it until you see a system that's so antiquated as the school system versus the outside world. Steve, you're obviously working in South Africa and Kenya, as I mentioned in the intro. What are you seeing in those communities when it comes to mobile learning? Because here's a system where really they're sort of jumping over the gap, aren't they, in many ways?
In many ways they are, and I think that what everybody is beginning to see is the massive potential for technology to support education. So in many countries around the world, and especially in developing countries, we know that education systems are under immense pressure. There aren't enough teachers, there often aren't access to textbooks, there are learners in large classes, 70 or 80 students in a class. And so how can we strengthen the education system to help it develop and help it to serve and to operate most efficiently in those very constrained environments?
Right.
So we're seeing it across the board, across assessment, across providing access to information and to content, and also really connecting people who otherwise have not been connected. So whether it's teachers who are in rural schools, who for the first time, instead of being isolated, can now talk to other teachers, even via Facebook or via WhatsApp, and share resources and support each other. So we're seeing it across, we're seeing the impact of mobile technologies across a wide range of points within the education system.
Steve, what about something even more basic than that in terms of just being able to reach kids in areas where normally they might not even be able to get to school because of geographic challenges?
Well, absolutely. You know, obviously mobile technology, as you said earlier, especially in Africa, has totally leapfrogged traditional technologies of landlines. Right. So, for example, in Nigeria, 27% of the population now owns a smartphone. And there are 15 million monthly active users on Facebook. In Nigeria, 1% of households have a landline telephone. So mobile technology has kind of opened up new connection opportunities that weren't possible before. And so by being able to reach people in a new way, you can deliver content and you can also interact with them.
Right.
I must just say, though, that it's not all... It doesn't mean that there's a level playing field now. There are still a lot of people that are disconnected. And much of the technology uptake has been in urban centers. Right. So a lot of work still needs to take place to get rural communities connected and to get good, sustainable, scalable and robust, internet connectivity to them.
Scott, it's a very different story, obviously, here in the U.S. I mean, everyone's connected. Every kid seems to have a mobile phone or some sort of computer device, right? So what are the challenges for you in terms of trying to push the mobile learning? We talked earlier about the fact that schools need to catch up. But I gotta be honest. When I hear about stuff like this, I'm like, it's a great idea, but could this be detrimental because kids are already so addicted to their gadgets, they might not use it for that purpose of education, but rather just having fun?
Well, look, some of the time they aren't going to be using it for an educational purpose. I mean, that's a good thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of fun with devices. We want kids to explore, create things, so that's not all bad. I'd say some of the challenges are, while districts are in the process of catching up, building their infrastructure, in a recent survey, about 80% of the superintendents across the country were very concerned about equity of access to the internet at home, away from school. So maybe not everybody has the type of broadband access that we would like. Some parents, due to economic reasons, worry about the cost of data plans.
Sure.
So there's some challenges there. How are we going to make up for that gap out of school,
That's
right?
true, because I was going to ask you about the issues of infrastructure, right? About broadband, about data plans, about costs. I mean, we still have those issues here in the United States, too. Sometimes the system doesn't work. We make fun of it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, so with those types of issues, you've got to address that.
Right, absolutely. And look at, our school systems across the country. We have many classrooms that are 40 and 50 years old that actually can't carry the kind of pipes that you need to get the broadband access. So this is about financing school construction, building classrooms that can use mobile technology efficiently, and then asking ourselves the question, if we expect this of our children, do we have a duty to provide that access 24/7 outside the classroom as well? These are tough political and economic questions.
I was just going to say, that takes money.
It does.
That takes resources. So where do you get that? And that also then takes agreement on the part of local, state, federal government.
Absolutely. And that's where, these policy discussions come in. We as a nation need to decide if that's important, and if it is important, to what extent can we afford that?
That's right. That's right. Steve, let me ask you the same question. When it comes to fundamentals, we are talking about infrastructure issues too. I'm sure in Africa, that's probably even a bigger issue in many ways.
It definitely is, yes. And there are innovative ways to get around that. There's a great project in South Africa where we've implemented the project has implemented with 26 schools in a deep rural area a tablet rollout. Those schools don't even have electricity, some of them. They certainly don't have internet connectivity. But they've put down local servers with local content and created local networks so that those schools can talk to each other and at least begin to create content and access that local content that's been produced there. We're also doing, Pearson is doing a project with one of the departments of education at also very rural schools, but there we are working with an infrastructure partner to get connectivity to those schools for that learning management system and those tablets. So I think it's about partnerships, and as Scott said, it's really about policy.
Right. Steve, can you give me a specific example of maybe a student or a school that has been positively impacted by the use of mobile learning technology?
Sure. I'll give you a personal example. The project that you mentioned earlier, where the mobiles for literacy, we really wanted to publish short stories and poems and even classic literature like Macbeth and make those available on mobile phones, knowing that books are very rare and very expensive, printed books in many countries, including South Africa. And I received an email from a teacher to say, thank goodness that you put Macbeth on these phones, because our kids are studying Macbeth this year, and they don't have the textbooks. They don't have enough to go around, and so they could access those books in digital format. Now that was a good few years ago. Now we're working closely with the government. Obviously, Pearson has a strong publisher history, and so we're working with the government to get tablets out there, to get e-books, onto tablets, and to try and kind of complement the print and digital. And I think, I don't think we always need to have an either-or scenario. Sometimes print and paper is great, sometimes digital and mobiles is great. And we can kind of leverage the best of both worlds in different scenarios.
Totally agree with you, Steve. Well, Scott, I know here one of your programs is using Minecraft, the video game,
yes,
to teach students about coding.
Yes.
And again, I have to be that cynic. It's like, wait a minute, you're talking about video games with kids. Are they going to really focus on learning something, especially something as advanced as coding? But how is that working out?
So it's great. This is a kind of a medium-sized district in San Diego County, and the district really has set up one particular campus called a coding campus. The kids come in during school, before school, after school, and through the use of Minecraft are learning to code computer language.
Wow.
They're learning about spatial relationships on the computer. So it's a way to attract these kids to learn coding, math, science, all of the things that we want to teach. The only difference here is we're delivering content through a mobile device.
Right.
Where, as we said, sometimes, yes, print is good, but as we move further down this road, kids are devouring content through a device.
That's
and
all,
we have to realize that.
That's so commonplace. I mean, that is what feels natural to them, which is pretty incredible.
Right.
Final question to you both, and we'll start with you, Scott.
Okay.
Well, how do you see mobile technology developing in the next 10 years? I mean, if you look down the road 10 years ahead, what do you think we're going to see?
Well, I think we're already seeing it. So across this country, school districts are passing policies that says we are no longer buying textbooks.
Yeah.
All of our content is going to be delivered to our students through their devices. Right? We're going to continue on that road. I think teachers are going to get much, much better at teaching that way. So whereas before a teacher stood before a class, 25 students in rows.
With a chalkboard.
With a chalkboard. That's changing. They're putting students in groups. They're moving around. They're letting kids work as teams on projects. The kids use all sorts of sources for their information, not a textbook, but can go anywhere, anytime, any place.
It's amazing, isn't it, how far we've come in just like a couple of decades. And Steve, I'm going to ask you the same thing. When you look down the road 10 years ahead, what are you going to see, especially where you are in Africa?
Well, you know, I hope that we go the same route as Scott just described. And I would really like to see mobile learning becoming much more personalized and learning systems becoming much more adaptive. And I think that mobile is so personal in so many ways. It's so intimate because you take it around with you, not just at school, but at home, that if you could get a truly personalized learning systems and adaptive systems 10 years from now, your educational experience will be much richer and I think much more effective.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so, but I think we're on the right track. As long as kids are learning, that's a good thing, right? So, gentlemen, thank you to you both for being here. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, great. Glad to be here.
All right. Okay, we'll be right back with this week's Full Frame Close-Up. You stay right there. The state of Maine historically is known as a majority white state, but the state's largest city, Portland, is home to resettlement communities for families across the globe. As the city's demographics shift, one tiny nonprofit arts group is reaching out to help immigrant and refugee teens feel part of their wider community. The Telling Room runs an after-school program that gives these new students a place to practice English and share their personal stories through writing. In this week's Close-Up, Full Frame takes a look at this unique educational program.
I heard heavy knocks on the door that would wake a person from a coma.
Nobody was home. The candle was out.
The rage, son, the rage. That's the rage. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Tame it.
When approaching someone, we don't smile. We wondered whether we deserve any hellos. We started to question.
The object with no feelings is burning, but is protected from the sun. But my mom, working and getting tired, is not. Mom, I wonder what you felt when we were laughing.
A lovely 14-year-old bride, but in my eyes' reflection, all I saw was frightened, happy, worried, perplexed 14-year-old girl.
my whole family was under the killed. Until this day, I could still feel the warmth on my grandparents' tears on my face when they kissed my forehead for the last time. Those were my last moments in Iraq, and that was the last time I ever got to see my grandparents.
I was born in Mosul, Iraq, and I was raised there for most of my life. In 2008, we sought refuge in Turkey, and we began as refugees for the United Nations there. Then came to Portland, Maine in 2010. A lot of the challenges that I faced when I moved here was adapting culturally, and that's obviously, that sounds really cliche, but you know, there's a lot that goes into it.
When I was in 6th grade, I became labeled as a joke to my mainstream classmates due to my lack of confidence, my limited English vocabulary, and my newness to the country.
In 8th grade, I had heard a lot about Telling Room, and I actually went on a field trip, and I came here to this building. People from different ethnic backgrounds, people from different races, religions, and you know, I realized that I wasn't the only one that had a story.
You've been working really hard for the last 8 weeks to get these stories just right, and you have one day, next Thursday, to stand up in front of an audience of people you know and people you don't know to share that story with them.
There will be tears or goosebumps from several audience members, and I love that you're going to get that feeling reciprocated back to you and know what that feels like to share that. I'm so excited.
I want to thank Molly and Sonia to give us an opportunity to tell our story to the people, to teach them our culture. We are ready, we can do it. Thank you.
So once we get the kids excited about telling a story and we start getting it out onto paper, then the mentors are asking them to consider, how could you make this more vivid, or how can you slow this down and really bring your reader into this moment? What techniques do you have to use?
So I do a lot of work with actors on how to present themselves and how to speak well. The idea is to make it sound as real and as true to yourself as you can. Really speak from the heart, and it will go well.
And this moves right over here, so that's going to be the same thing.
These stories have so much value, and giving the minorities a voice in the community, that's what the Telling Room is all about.
How's it going? Good to see you.
Hi, everybody. This is an amazing crowd. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm Molly Haley, and I'm so fortunate to be able to work with the 15 students in the Young Writers and Leaders program and co-teach it with Sonia here.
Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm like forgetting my lines. This is so exciting to look out at you. For those of you that this is your first time to the program, it is our year-long writing program open exclusively to international students.
It means so much to us and the students that you came out to support their voices and their storytelling today.
One of the basic human needs is to be able to tell your story and to come to a country where you may not speak the language because you speak 3 others before you learn English, that to have a place where you can be heard is about the greatest gift that a place to be listened to and to tell their stories. Please welcome her, Athani Abdullahi.
am a strong young lady who loves to be with people. And who knows, one day she will achieve her dreams.
But son, learn before it's too late. Regret before you make mistakes, and that should prevent them from happening.
And I saw that she cared because I actually saw her smile.
This mentor-mentee relationship is very tricky. You know, it gets stood on its head every time. I mean, just who is doing the teaching here? So thank you for all that you've taught me.
Buildings fall down, Blood Street is bleeding. I come back in my heaven. I need correct formula.
See my mother baking bread under the sun.
Having a program like this can be very, very effective to teach others about, you know, where we come from, why are we here, why didn't we end up in other places, and what choices did we have to make to end up here.
I lived inside a category for years. But I wanted to be more than just a category. I did not want to be known as the immigrant kid. I did not want to be known as the Iraqi kid. I did not want to be known as that kid who doesn't know what's said to him half the time because English wasn't his primary language. Because that kid has a name. His name is Salim Ayman Salim. So I took a risk. I took the risk of stepping out of my comfort zone and exploring what's outside my circle. Taking risks has brought me from Mosul, Iraq to Portland, Maine. It has brought me from being a joke in middle school to getting elected as school president.
The advice I would give to a new immigrant that's living here is definitely don't be afraid to explore. The opportunities won't come to you. You have to go looking for them. And one thing will lead you to another, and eventually you'll start building your life here. But it takes time and it takes a lot of effort at the beginning.
And that's it for this week. Join the conversation with us on social media. We are CCTV America on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can watch Full Frame on our new mobile app, available worldwide on any smartphone for free. Get the latest news headlines and connect to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Weibo. Search CCTV America on your app store to download today. And of course, all of our interviews can still be found online at cctv-america.com. And let us know what you'd like us to take Full Frame next. Simply email us at fullframe@cctv-america.com. Until then, I'm Mei Lee in Los Angeles. We'll see you next time.